Imagine a society so fierce that its warriors were trained from childhood to embrace death over surrender. A city-state where weakness was a crime and where discipline was valued above all else. The Spartans weren't just soldiers. They were the ultimate warriors, trained from birth, hardened by brutal rituals, and feared across the ancient world. They fought not just to survive but to dominate. But behind the legend of the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae lies a much deeper, bloodier, and more complex story. One of conquest, political intrigue, betrayal, and eventually decline. This is the full history of the Spartans, from their mysterious origins to their rise as the most feared warriors in history, their dominance over Greece, and their eventual downfall. Strap in, because there's a lot more to Sparta than Hollywood ever told you. Sparta's story begins long before it became a superpower. After the collapse of the Mycenaean civilization around 1100 BCE, Greece entered a period of decline known as the Greek Dark Ages. But during this time, a group of warlike people known as the Dorians settled in the Peloponnesian region. By 900 BCE, a collection of 5 villages along the Eurotas River in Laconia merged to form the city-state of Sparta. Unlike Athens or Corinth, which became centers of art and trade, Sparta was shaped by war. The turning point came in the 8th century BCE, when Sparta launched a brutal war against its neighbors, the Mycenaeans. This conflict, known as the First Mycenaean War, from 743 to 724 BCE, resulted in Sparta enslaving the entire Mycenaean population. These Helots would become Sparta's workforce, forced to farm and serve the state while Spartan citizens trained for battle. But the Helots rebelled, leading to the Second Mycenaean War, which lasted from 685 to 668 BCE. This was Sparta's wake-up call. If they wanted to maintain control, they needed a society built entirely around warfare. And so the legendary Spartan system was born. Sparta wasn't just a city, it was a war machine. Every aspect of life revolved around the military. Spartan boys entered the Agoge, a brutal military training program at age 7. Under the watchful eye of harsh instructors, they learned combat skills, survival tactics, and pain tolerance. They were given minimal food and had to steal, but they were punished not for stealing but for getting caught. Beatings were common, and complaining was not an option. By age 12, they were given only a single cloak to wear year-round. No shoes, no blankets. They learned to sleep in the cold and fight through hunger. At age 20, they became full-time soldiers, known as hoplites, and joined the Syssitia, a communal mess hall where they ate simple meals. Most famously, the dreaded black broth, a disgusting mix of pig's blood, vinegar, and salt. Only at age 30 were they granted full citizenship and allowed to marry. But even then, their first loyalty was to the state. While men trained, Spartan women were given an unusual amount of freedom. They received education, something unheard of in other Greek states. They were encouraged to stay physically strong, believing that strong mothers produced strong warriors. They could own and inherit land, making Spartan women wealthier than most Greek men. One of the most famous Spartan women was Queen Gorgo, wife of King Leonidas. She was known for her intelligence and famously responded to a foreign woman who asked why Spartan women had such influence by saying, "Because we are the only women who give birth to men." By the 6th century BCE, Sparta was the dominant power in southern Greece. But rather than expand through colonization like Athens, it focused on military dominance. It formed the Peloponnesian League in 550 BCE, a powerful alliance of Greek city-states. It remained isolated from the outside world, discouraging trade and luxury. Foreigners were rarely allowed in, and Spartans rarely traveled outside their land. Sparta's reputation as an unstoppable military force was growing, but soon it would face its greatest test, the Persian Wars. In 499 BCE, the Greek city-states found themselves facing an existential threat: the Persian Empire. The first major battle took place at Marathon in 490 BCE, where Athens shockingly defeated the mighty Persian army. Sparta had been invited to fight, but due to a religious festival, they arrived too late. In 480 BCE, King Xerxes I of Persia invaded Greece with an army of over 100,000 men. To stop them, King Leonidas of Sparta led 300 Spartans and about 7,000 Greek allies to block the pass at Thermopylae. For 3 days the Spartans held off the Persian army, killing thousands, until a Greek traitor, Ephialtes, revealed a secret mountain pass. Leonidas and his men fought to the last man, becoming legends in the process, but the Persians didn't win for long. The next year, the Greeks, led by Spartan general Pausanias, crushed the Persian army at the Battle of Plataea in 479 BCE, securing Greek independence. Sparta was now the greatest military power in Greece. With Persia defeated, Athens and Sparta turned against each other. In 431 BCE, the Peloponnesian War erupted, a brutal 27-year conflict that saw plagues wipe out a third of Athens' population, bloody betrayals, shifting alliances, and a final Spartan naval victory in 404 BCE, funded by Persia, that led to Athens' surrender. Sparta was now the master of Greece, but its downfall was just around the corner. With Athens defeated, Sparta was now the dominant power in Greece. But while it had won the war, it was ill-prepared to govern an empire. Unlike Athens, which thrived on trade and diplomacy, Sparta was rigid and militaristic, uninterested in politics beyond its own survival. This created immediate problems. Sparta tried to impose its strict oligarchic rule over former Athenian allies, but resentment quickly grew. Many city-states, including Thebes and Corinth, turned against Sparta. Sparta also faced a new enemy, Persia, the very empire that had helped it win the Peloponnesian War. In 401 BCE, a group of Greek mercenaries, including Spartans, were hired by Cyrus the Younger in an attempt to overthrow his brother, King Artaxerxes II of Persia. The mission failed, and although the Spartan warriors proved their might, Persia now viewed Sparta as a threat. The Persians retaliated by supporting anti-Spartan forces in Greece, particularly Thebes. At the same time, Sparta made a fatal mistake by invading and capturing the city of Thebes in 382 BCE, installing a pro-Spartan government. The Thebans never forgave them, and this would come back to haunt Sparta in a devastating way. For centuries, Sparta's military dominance had gone unchallenged. But in 371 BCE, at the Battle of Leuctra, that changed forever. The Theban general Epaminondas led a revolutionary new military formation called the oblique phalanx, which concentrated the strongest forces on one side rather than evenly spreading them. The result was a devastating defeat for Sparta. For the first time in history, a Greek army had defeated the Spartan hoplites in open battle. Even more devastating was the loss of 400 of Sparta's elite warriors, including their king, Cleombrotus I. This was an unprecedented blow. Sparta's entire system relied on its warrior elite, and with so many of them lost, Sparta's power began to crumble. The Thebans, now the leading Greek power, marched into the Peloponnesus and did the unthinkable. They freed the Helots, the enslaved population that had sustained Sparta's economy for centuries. Without the Helots, Sparta had no agricultural base to support its warrior class. The city-state, once the strongest in Greece, was now weakened beyond repair. Although Sparta never fully recovered from the defeat at Leuctra, it still remained a force in Greek politics. Over the next century, it struggled to regain power, occasionally allying with various Greek factions or foreign powers such as Macedonia. However, its rigid society and refusal to adapt made it increasingly irrelevant. In 338 BCE, Philip II of Macedon defeated a coalition of Greek city-states at the Battle of Chaeronea. Sparta refused to join the Greek alliance against Philip, believing itself superior. Philip, amused by their arrogance, simply bypassed Sparta and took control of Greece without them. His son, Alexander the Great, continued to ignore Sparta, focusing instead on conquering Persia. During the Hellenistic period, Sparta made several attempts to reclaim its former glory. King Cleomenes III, who reigned from 235 to 222 BCE, tried to reform the Spartan system by redistributing land and restoring the military. His efforts briefly revived Spartan strength, but in 222 BCE, the Spartan army was crushed by the Achaean League at the Battle of Salasia. This marked the true end of Sparta as a major power. From this point forward, it was a minor player in Greek affairs, overshadowed by rising powers such as Rome. In 146 BCE, Greece fell under Roman control after the Romans defeated the Achaean League. Unlike other Greek city-states, Sparta was allowed to retain some of its traditions, mainly because the Romans admired its military past. However, it was no longer an independent power. During the Roman period, Sparta became more of a tourist attraction than a military force. Roman elites visited the city to witness reenactments of Spartan training and battles, though by this time it was more of a spectacle than actual warrior culture. The once great Spartan system had become a shadow of itself, more myth than reality. By the time the Western Roman Empire collapsed in 476 CE, Sparta had long ceased to be relevant in global affairs. The city continued to exist but never again played a significant role in history. Despite its fall, Sparta's legacy endured. It became a symbol of discipline, sacrifice, and military excellence. Generals, military leaders, and even modern athletes have drawn inspiration from Spartan ideals of toughness and resilience. The phrase, "come and take them," famously spoken by King Leonidas when the Persians demanded the Spartans surrender their weapons at Thermopylae, is still used today as a motto of defiance and courage. Spartan influence can also be seen in military training worldwide. Special forces in many modern armies adopt a Spartan mindset, training in harsh conditions, embracing endurance, and prioritizing unit loyalty above personal comfort. The term Spartan is now synonymous with simplicity, discipline, and extreme toughness. Yet the reality of Sparta was far more complex than the romanticized version seen in movies like 300. It was a society built on extreme militarization and the oppression of others. Its rigid social structure ultimately led to its downfall, as it was unable to adapt to changing times. Today, the ruins of ancient Sparta stand in Greece, a quiet reminder of a once dominant civilization that shaped history. Sparta may have faded, but its legend remains immortal. The Spartans were more than just warriors. They were a symbol of unbreakable discipline and sacrifice. But their strength was also their weakness. Their refusal to change, their dependence on an oppressed class, and their rigid military focus ultimately led to their downfall. Sparta's story is one of both glory and tragedy. A lesson in the power of discipline, but also the dangers of inflexibility. Their name still echoes through history, their deeds still studied, their legend still alive. The Spartans may be gone, but the world will never forget.